This week on The Travel Show.
The museum with nothing to hide.
The fact that everybody can see so many more artworks, it opens up new perspectives on the collection. It's a wonderful thing.
How to pick a greener hotel.
This is not good. This is the good guys, refillable.
Woo. And rustling up a light lunch in the freezing seas of Iceland.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about foraging in Iceland in late November.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping you might have some indoor activities.
We're starting this week in the Netherlands, in the city of Rotterdam, Europe's largest seaport, known for its quirky architecture and now its game-changing approach to looking at art. It's all down to this brand new eye-catching building in the city's museum park.
The Depot Boijmans van Groningen. It's the world's first publicly accessible art storage facility. And well, from the outside, it looks a bit like a giant space-age teacup. So I wonder what the inside's going to look like.
After flooding forced the museum to move the collection out of its usual storage facility, the team rethought the entire concept of an archive. Gone was the idea of a warehouse with a security guard and a dog, replaced by a concept based on radical transparency.
Charles, I'm Christa, my goodness, look at this place. What an incredible space.
Yeah, you like it?
So tell me the concept behind this place, because this is like no warehouse I could imagine.
Yeah, so it's an open storage. The first thing is that museums, they have a collection that you show for maybe just 3 to 6 to 7%. But that feels awkward because many things sink into oblivion or do not get the care that is necessary. So we opened our vaults with all the art collections to the audience. And we show how we work with the collection to clean paintings, to restore things that are not in a good shape. It's the audience who's the owner, and we are the very proud caretakers.
This is almost the opposite of a curated museum. Items aren't displayed by artistic theme or historical significance. Instead, they're organised by the conditions that will best preserve them.
This is brilliant. Because you don't expect to see all of these things in one place, because I can see some ceramics there, furniture.
Yeah. If you look at the material, here you see a sewing machine and you see a metal face. It's the same kind of care.
So these are just grouped by the kind of climate they need, the kind of lighting conditions?
Yes, exactly. And then at size too. So it's total democracy, you could say. So each item is treated in the same way. And so they're all equal. So what you see is the very, very important and expensive ones, like the Tower of Babel. It's 400 million euros. But you can also have a look at such a sewing machine, which my mother had too.
The access visitors have is remarkable. You can even request to see certain individual pieces of your choice.
I found a group with their guide, and you have to have a guide when you come here because I guess they can't just let people loose among these racks of possibly priceless works. And they get white coats too. Where's my coat?
The only real limiting factor here is time. Because the environments are so strictly controlled, visitors are only allowed in certain rooms for a limited period. Even a small group can alter these delicately balanced conditions. This is very much a working building, where you get to see the inside story of a museum.
This is the paintings conservation studio. And this is where
the art handling, restoration and cleaning of items all happens here in full view.
Is this a Mondrian?
This is a Mondrian painting.
Are you working on this?
Yeah, it's part of a research project which has two paintings by Mondrian.
So tell me about the work that you do here.
The research is about the yellow in particular. This one we have unframed, so now I can look at it more closely. I'm trying to find out if the yellow has just as much cracks as the other colors, or if the yellow has changed over time. Yeah.
So could we have a look at it under the microscope?
Yeah, I can position it under a microscope and then you can see through the computer.
Amazing.
Here you can see the yellow layer that's on top of the white layer.
But you can see, I mean, the cracks there.
Yeah, you can see the cracks here.
So, is that just age?
That's age, yeah.
Do you ever restore those elements to get rid of the cracks, or this is just part of the history of the piece now?
Yeah, it's part of the aging. So, but sometimes cracks can become so disturbing that there might be a reason to retouch it. But for this painting, I don't think that will happen very soon.
The depot isn't the only place reinventing its archives. The world's most visited museum, the Louvre in Paris, has just relocated its vaults to a huge high-tech campus in northern France. It's only open to academics, but claims to now be one of the biggest study and research centres in Europe. Meanwhile, London's V&A Museum plans to open Storehouse on the Olympic Park in 2024, putting hundreds of thousands of items on display for the first time in generations. One of the biggest joys of all this open access is the direct contact with the people whose job it is to look after the exhibits. It's made Ruben here a man very much in demand.
Hello there.
Hey, hello.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I ask what you're doing, what you're looking for?
A visitor asked us online if the frame is original or not.
And is it?
I don't think it is. I don't think it is. If you look closely, you see that it's white and not brown. If it would be an original, it would have been an oak frame, carved. So the ornaments would be carved out of the wood.
And not moulded.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyone can just send you an email and ask a question about a piece.
Exactly. The whole collection is actually visible online, and there's a button, and so you can just click on it and you can ask any question, and it comes into my mailbox.
So when you have members of the public coming through here, well, how does that feel for you? Is it distracting? What do you do?
In the beginning, it was a little bit distracting, but I'm just supposed to continue my job and just do whatever I'm doing.
Do you get more questions from people?
Yeah, and they're like very like prying eyes. It's a fun part of the job. Yeah.
What do you make of this idea of a kind of inside-out museum? You see behind the curtain.
The fact that everybody can see so many more artworks enables people to ask questions that we might never have thought about before. So it also makes us think about our collection anew, and it opens up new perspectives on the collection, of course. So yeah, it's a wonderful thing.
Ruben looks after around 2,000 old masters, but there was one in particular he was keen to show me.
So this here is one of my all-time favorites, portrait of a schoolboy from 1531. I think it's just wonderful because it's such a delicate portrait, and actually the most interesting visual pun in the painting is the small cartellino that he holds in his hands. And actually, so there's a Latin saying on the paper, and you can actually read it in mirror view through the paper. So yeah, so I think it's so witty to have done that, and yeah.
And also, it's beautiful.
It's wonderfully beautiful, yeah, absolutely.
Just while I've been here, I think I've probably seen a dozen artworks I've never seen before that utterly captivate me. They're incredible.
Yeah.
What an amazing way to see art, so different.
This spring, it's hoped that more than 1 million people will head to the Keukenhof Gardens for the annual Tulip Festival. Commonly known as the world's largest flower park, it boasts a dazzling display of around 7 million buds blooming from March until May. This is the first time the park's open for 2 years, and they're celebrating with a historical theme, looking at how flowers have been represented across centuries of art, architecture and design. If you prefer music festivals to floral ones, Amsterdam's DGTL returns in April with a packed lineup of electronic artists. There's also a strong eco theme, with the organisers claiming it's more sustainable to come along and dance the night away than it is to stay at home. They're aiming to become an entirely climate neutral event, reducing the amount of waste per visitor to zero, encouraging people to arrive by public transport and powering it all with renewable energy. For the foodies, Alkmaar's weekly cheese market rolls around again at the end of the month. In a tradition that dates back all the way to the year 1365, up to 30,000 kilos of cheese is ceremonially stacked in the main square. Porters in traditional dress then cart them away to be weighed and sold. It's running every Friday until September 24th. And any spring visitor to the Netherlands should try to make the annual King's Day celebrations, marking the birth of the current monarch, King Willem-Alexander, on April 27th. As many as 1 million people arrive in Amsterdam to attend markets and toast the occasion at massive street parties. Just remember your orange outfit.
Still to come here on the Travel Show.
Low carbon luxury, ways to make your stay more sustainable.
Here we have dulls. They only grow in certain areas where fresh water meets the ocean.
And the tasty treats hidden on the Icelandic seabed.
So don't go away.
Hi, I'm Juliet Kinsman. I am a sustainable hotel expert. I'm sustainability editor of Condé Nast Traveller magazine, and I also work with hotels to make sure that they tell their stories of being eco without any greenwash. So I think at some counts there are around 800,000 hotels in the world. That is a lot of businesses operating to give us our holidays and our business travel. But that also means a lot of energy used, a lot of sheets being changed, a lot of laundry, a lot of water. Think of all those swimming pools. They could do a lot better. And I think what we need to do is really think about when we spend time in a hotel, it's less about excess, indulgence, things, stuff, and more about just having really great experiences. So there's a new generation of hotels opening. It's really exciting, and one of them is Sorsha 1875, which is a vegan hotel. So that means, obviously, it's plant-based, no animal products, which also means its supply chain will have much less carbon emissions, particularly methane, which won't be contributing to global warming in the same way.
We don't want to be a fusty old hotel. We want to be quite forward-thinking in our design and the vibes. So that's what we try to provide here at the hotel.
Another hotel I absolutely love for being much more transparent about exactly how they operate is Fogo Island in Newfoundland in Canada. They have a label, they call it the economic nutrition label, which shows you where their money goes. And what's most interesting about that is a lot of it stays with the staff and in local pockets, and that's what's key. So I'm going to give you 3 things to think about when you book a hotel so that you can have a better trip that does more good. Number 1, in everything we do, book local, buy local. So choose a locally owned hotel where you know the money from that business is more likely to stay in local pockets, where the people who own it might be from that place, so they're more likely to care about the destination, better custodians. And that is one of the key ways to tackle many of the symptoms of all the problems we see in the world today. It's all about community economics, spending local, thinking global. Number 2, accreditations. What a sea of confusion that can be. We often want to look for a badge or a seal of approval from an organisation that has weighed up whether that business is responsible. Now, the thing is with travel and hotels, there are hundreds of them out there. So how do we know what they mean? One that I love is EarthCheck, particularly if a hotel's reached platinum status, but they have paid for that accreditation. The GSTC, that's the Global Sustainable Tourism Council, they're somebody who works independently. It originally stemmed from the United Nations, and their framework is very reliable. But how do you know someone's actually following it? So be alert. Look at every hotel's own website, see how they talk about sustainability. They really need to not just tell you they're sustainable or eco or just use these words, they need to show you. So make sure they're talking about the right things, such as how they measure their energy consumption and how they look after their local community. Is it good for nature? Is it good for community? That's a better hotel to book. Number 3, this is a simple one, be minimalist. It's so tempting when they put all these things out for us to use, but this, not good. More stuff. Even this one that's dressed up to look a bit eco, it's going to end up in landfill. This is not good. This is the good guys, refillable. I really just try and minimize everything I use and think if that's going to end up in the garbage, I don't want to use it. Keep things simple, stay minimalistic.
Up next, we're on the hunt for some more tasty treats in some of the world's most exciting cities. Kate Hardie-Buckley headed to the Icelandic capital of Reykjavik.
Reykjavik, Iceland's capital on the edge of the Arctic Circle, gets very little sunlight during the winter months, and its remoteness has meant that people have always had to come up with ingenious ways of securing, preparing and cooking their food. For centuries, Icelanders maintained a simple diet, using techniques such as fermentation, dehydration, and smoking to prepare their food. Chef Fanny Dorr loves to experiment with traditional ingredients to create new flavors, and she's invited me to the Lady Brewery for a drink to warm up.
I would say what's special about Icelandic cuisine is the pureness. I use a lot of Icelandic products, Icelandic fish, seaweed, and try to put my stamp on it. For example, utilizing seaweed with vegetables to get like more umami flavors into it.
Tell me what you'd like me to bring for you.
I would love for you to go and fetch me some salmon. I would also love if you could meet Raxel, my friend, and go foraging seaweed with her.
I love foraging.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you think about foraging in Iceland in late November.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping you might have some indoor activities. I start off exploring a food source that's undergone a revival in Icelandic cuisine: seaweed. Ragnhildur Axel has foraged the superfood for decades.
So here we have dulls. They only grow in certain areas where fresh water meets the ocean. So let's take those, and then we can dry those for Fanny. Icelanders used to be ashamed of going to pick the seaweed, and they would hide it, that they were picking dulls. But now it's a really valuable raw material.
We also find the much sought after sea truffle. People say it tastes like truffles from Tuscany. It's got that distinctly umami flavor.
In Icelandic, it's called þangskegg. It's seaweed beard.
Seaweed beard?
Yeah, because it looks like beard.
I next travel 1 hour south of the capital to the West Ranga River to meet the man known as the Salmon Whisperer. Woo! And then I pull back?
Yeah, pull back, stop and wait a little bit. Okay, good.
The fishing season is over, but we've secured a special permit to chance our luck. At what stage does the salmon reach the river?
In the middle of June. And then in October, they put their eggs here in the river, and the eggs becomes a little parse. And when they are getting big enough, then they go to the sea to feed up, and then they come back up to the river 1 or 2 years later just to take part in the love life here.
So this is a romantic spot for the salmon.
Yeah. It's a quite big industry just for travelers to come and fish in Iceland for salmon, because our salmon stock is quite good. It's kind of a mecca for many people to come here and fish for salmon.
Despite Stefan's skills and my enthusiasm, the fish aren't biting. I think we're going to give it a few more minutes, and then what's plan B?
Well, we have some frozen salmon, so it's we can always use that.
Yay! The backup option. Thank you so much, Harpa. Thank you. I've returned to the Lady Brewery where I met Chef Fanny to find out more about the women crafting these unique beers.
This is First Lady. Oh, she's super happy to see you.
Only 3% of all craft breweries around the world are owned by women. We were shocked.
Þórey Haldadóttir also made an interesting discovery about the origins of brewing beer.
It was always a kitchen job, so it was always in the hands of women throughout the centuries.
So it was women who created beer?
Yes.
Wow.
And like they had these pointy hats, the alewives. They were sweeping the corn, and they had like the cat, the black cat, and the big pot, and they were, you know, witches. That's how we are interpreting this history of beer and beer making.
I meet Chef Fanny at her restaurant, Chnos, to see her work her magic. It's a beautiful color, this salmon.
Yeah, it is. Let's use this.
Yes, the salt with the truffle seaweed. What are then the sort of traditional Icelandic flavors that you're playing on?
It's the smoke and it's the pickling and it's the freshness of the fish. You don't need to do much because the product already is amazing. It's a beurre blanc sauce. It's got a lot of butter and the butter has been smoked. So this is the dulse that you brought to me.
Yeah.
And then this is sugar kelp. I use both of those seaweed to make my smoked carrots.
Yeah.
So I'm going to use as a...
This looks like smoked salmon.
I'm just going to put a little bit of the seaweed in some apple cider vinegar. A lot of people think that we're only about fermented food. I always say it's a part of us. It's not what a typical Icelander will eat on a day-to-day basis. Our cuisine in Iceland is more about utilizing, you know, what we have learned living on this island, and what we have now is an abundance of fresh produce and fresh fish and meat.
It's got that umami flavor from the dulse.
Yeah.
So this is the pickled seaweed.
Tastes completely different.
That's almost fizzy.
Yeah.
That's really good, Fanny. Cheers.
Cheers.
That was Kate Hardie-Buckley there in Reykjavik. And that's it for this week's show. But coming up next week... Lucy's in Naples to explore the archaeological treasures being opened to the public for the very first time.
Oh my God.
Yes. Look at this. This is the star.
And if you'd like to catch up with some more of our recent adventures, you can find us on BBC iPlayer. We're on social media too, on Facebook and Instagram. You can find us by searching BBC Travel Show and looking for the blue logo. Until then, I'm off to get some more coffee and stroopwafel. Bye-bye.